You're chosen, special, you're adopted. Mummy, why do you have little holes in your ears? I was sitting in the sink in our kitchen getting my evening wash down. My mother had patiently and painstakingly explained that I was adopted, chosen and special, wanted more than anything. To say that I hadn't been listening was a bit of an understatement. I wasn't getting what she was trying to tell me, as my focus was on the holes in her ears. My parents had been advised in the 1960s when I was adopted to tell me as early as possible, even as a baby, that I was chosen, special and adopted. This occasion is the first one that I can remember when I was 6. Those 3 words were constantly applied to my life, and I really don't like being called special. The word still gets on my nerves to this day when it's applied to me. 55 years later, and it could be longer by the time you read this, I wish they had been told to wait until I was an adult and able to deal with all the emotion that it brought with it. I do often question whether things would have been better, the same or worse than they were, had I been told at a more adult age. Would my life have spiralled out of control the way it did if I had not been given those 3 words to cart around with me for the rest of my childhood? Never really knowing what to do with the burden of being special, chosen and adopted. I did not have the tools to deal with all that being adopted brought with it. There were so many huge questions for a small child. Where are my mummy and daddy that didn't want me? Why did they not want me? What did I do to be thrown aside as an unwanted child? The weight of being adopted was for me like carrying around a huge bag of stones all the time. The older I got, the heavier the burden became. I struggled inside with my identity, struggled with really frightening huge waves of pain and fear. Then, to put a tin lid on the whole sorry mess, my hormones decided to kick in early. My mind exploded with emotions and hormone imbalance, enough to kick a grown man into orbit, never mind a scared little girl who by that time was becoming the cuckoo in the nest. I didn't feel connected to my family. I felt awkward, different, strange, and I was. Throughout my childhood, I always felt different. And to be fair, I was a bit different. I was the little specky kid that wasn't afraid to say the things that other people just thought. I made pals with people quickly, always trying to impress and find some sort of connection. My mother was a teacher and became a head teacher at a school with children with special needs. My father was a prison officer and became the governor of a prison. They were great parents. I had an older brother who was 4 years older than me. He was too cool. I idolised him. I had a younger sister who was pretty and smiley with cute curly hair. I was smack bang in the middle of their 2 biological children, which is probably a worst case scenario. A middle child tends to have issues anyway, never mind being the adopted, chosen, special child in the middle. It was a recipe for the destruction that was to come. We lived in a small village in Scotland, an idyllic setting of hills, woods, fields and rivers. They were our playgrounds. The village had a park and some extremely tempting ruined coal mines that we were always told not to go near as they were dangerous, and there were the ghosts and skeletons of the men that had died in the mines when they blew up. As to how true any of the stories of skeletons and ghosts were, I don't know, but it made for a great adventure. In the mines we played trying to scare each other half to death. As a young child, I was always getting into trouble doing something bizarre. I took a teddy that was my sister's favourite teddy and went round the village taking 5 pence from people to guess the teddy's name. When I was caught out, which wasn't hard as the village was so small, word got around really quickly as to what I had been up to with the teddy. My brother had to walk around with me to everyone's house to give all the money back and get the teddy back. Was I just showing a bit of entrepreneurship, or was I being bad? I was always getting into trouble for one thing or another, so the words bad and evil were bandied about quite regularly.